Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss an important medical surgical nursing topic, cirrhosis of the liver. So let's begin. Definition of cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is a chronic progressive disease of the liver characterized by extensive degeneration and destruction of liver cells. The development of cirrhosis occurs slowly over many years, usually after decades of chronic liver disease. Now let's talk about etiology and pathophysiology. Any chronic liver disease, including excessive alcohol intake and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or NAFLD, can lead to cirrhosis. In many patients, the exact cause may not be identified. The most common causes of cirrhosis in the United States are chronic hepatitis C infection and alcohol-induced liver disease. Approximately 20% of patients with chronic hepatitis C and 10% to 20% of those with chronic hepatitis B eventually develop cirrhosis. Chronic inflammation and liver cell necrosis gradually result in fibrosis and finally cirrhosis. Cardiac cirrhosis refers to liver damage caused by long-standing severe right-sided heart failure. In cirrhosis, liver cells attempt to regenerate, but this regeneration is disorganized. As a result, abnormal blood vessels and bile duct structures develop. Excessive fibrous connective tissue distorts the normal structure of the liver, producing irregular lobules and obstructing normal blood flow. Now let's talk about clinical manifestations. Early manifestations. The onset of cirrhosis is usually insidious. Early symptoms commonly include fatigue. Many patients with compensated cirrhosis, meaning normal liver function is still maintained, may not even realize they have liver disease. Often, the diagnosis is discovered only later when symptoms of advanced liver disease appear. Later manifestations. Later manifestations become more severe and occur due to liver failure and portal hypertension. Patients gradually develop jaundice, peripheral edema, and ascites. Other late manifestations include skin lesions, hematologic disorders, endocrine disturbances, and peripheral neuropathy. In advanced stages, the liver becomes small and nodular. Jaundice occurs because damaged liver cells cannot properly conjugate and excrete bilirubin. In addition, connective tissue overgrowth compresses bile ducts, worsening bilirubin accumulation. Various skin manifestations are common in cirrhosis. Spider angiomas, also called spider nevi or telangiectasia, are small dilated blood vessels with a bright red center and spider-like branches. These are commonly seen on the nose, cheeks, neck, shoulders, and upper trunk. Another finding is palmar erythema, which is redness of the palms that blanches on pressure. Hematologic abnormalities include thrombocytopenia, leukopenia, anemia, and coagulation disorders. These changes are mainly caused by splenomegaly resulting from portal hypertension, where blood backs up into the spleen. Now let's discuss endocrine problems. Normally, the liver metabolizes hormones such as estrogen, testosterone, and adrenocortical hormones. In men with cirrhosis, increased estrogen levels may cause gynecomastia, loss of axillary and pubic hair, testicular atrophy, impotence, and decreased libido. Younger women may develop amenorrhea, while older women may experience vaginal bleeding. The damaged liver also fails to metabolize aldosterone properly, leading to hyperaldosteronism. This causes sodium and water retention along with potassium loss. Last one is peripheral neuropathy. Peripheral neuropathy is common in alcoholic cirrhosis and is usually related to deficiencies of thiamine, folic acid, and cobalamin. Patients may experience mixed nervous system symptoms, although sensory symptoms are often more prominent. Now let's move to the complications of cirrhosis. Major complications include portal hypertension, esophageal and gastric varices, peripheral edema, ascites, hepatic encephalopathy, and hepatorenal syndrome. Patients without complications are said to have compensated cirrhosis, while those with complications are considered to have decompensated cirrhosis. So talking about portal hypertension and varices. Structural changes in the liver compress and destroy the portal veins, hepatic veins, and sinusoids, obstructing normal blood flow through the portal system. This results in portal hypertension, which is characterized by increased pressure in the portal circulation, splenomegaly, collateral veins, ascites, and esophageal and gastric varices. Collateral circulation develops to reduce the high portal pressure. These collateral vessels commonly form in the lower esophagus, anterior abdominal wall, parietal, peritoneum, and rectum. This can result in esophageal varices, gastric varices, caput medusae, and hemorrhoids. Esophageal varices are enlarged tortuous veins located at the lower end of the esophagus, while gastric varices are found in the upper stomach. These varices are fragile and bleed easily because they contain very little elastic tissue. Large varices are especially prone to bleeding. Esophageal varices account for approximately 80% of variceal hemorrhages, while gastric varices account for the remaining 20%. Bleeding esophageal varices are one of the most life-threatening complications of cirrhosis. Patients may present with hematemesis or melena. Now let's discuss peripheral edema and ascites. Peripheral edema may occur before, during, or after the development of ascites. Edema develops because of decreased colloidal oncotic pressure due to reduced albumin synthesis by the liver and increased pressure caused by portal hypertension. Peripheral edema is commonly seen in the ankles and presacral area. Ascites refers to the accumulation of serous fluid within the peritoneal cavity and is a very common manifestation of cirrhosis. In portal hypertension, proteins leak from blood vessels into the lymphatic space. When the lymphatic system cannot drain this excess fluid and protein, they leak into the peritoneal cavity. The proteins present in the cavity attract even more fluid by osmotic pressure. Another cause of ascites is hypoalbuminemia due to decreased albumin production by the damaged liver. Hyperaldosteronism also contributes by causing sodium and water retention. Increased antidiuretic hormone further increases water retention. Due to edema formation, intravascular volume decreases, leading to reduced renal blood flow and decreased glomerular filtration. Patients may develop abdominal striae, distended abdominal veins, dehydration, decreased urine output, muscle weakness, and sunken eyeballs. Hypokalemia is also common due to hyperaldosteronism and the use of diuretics. Now let's discuss spontaneous bacterial peritonitis. Because cirrhosis alters immune function, patients with ascites are at risk for spontaneous bacterial peritonitis, also known as SBP. SBP is an infection of the acidic fluid and occurs in approximately 15% to 25% of hospitalized patients with cirrhosis and ascites. It is especially common after variceal hemorrhage. So, in this video, we discussed cirrhosis of the liver, including its definition, causes, pathophysiology, clinical manifestations, and major complications. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more medical surgical nursing topics. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.